Are you okay? I was on my way to work one day when I collapsed on the platform. I heard a voice as I collapsed, but I didn't know who was it. When I came to my senses in the station office, the only person there was a station attendant. A woman in a suit said she had helped carry me here. My name is Tim. I'm a 45-year-old office worker. I met my wife Christy when she helped me. Christy helped carry me when I collapsed on the station platform due to anemia. Christy went to work right away and I never saw her face. All I remember was her voice. I wondered who that voice was. But about a month later, I heard a familiar voice on the station platform. It was probably about work, or perhaps she was on the phone on the platform. When I looked at the person, it was an office worker I always see at the station. She took the same train at the same time as me and got off at the same station. It was her. When she hung up the phone, our eyes met. She smiled a bit, so I took the initiative to speak to her. You are the one who helped me before, right? She smiled shyly when I asked her that. It wasn't so much that I saved you, though. From there we began to talk a little more, and by the coincidence that we lived on the opposite sides of the same station and took the same train to work at the same station, I thought that Christy was the one, completely destined for me. I confessed my feelings and I proposed to her, and she laughed and nodded her head. It took 2 years from meeting her to getting married. 15 years have passed since then. Whenever Christy and I have a fight, I still think of the words, "It's meant to be." And since Christy was the one who saved me when I didn't even know her name, I put up with a few things. But after 15 years, the reality finally dawned on me. Christy has, simply put, a mother complex. At first, I thought she was someone who simply cared for her mother. But she calls her mother-in-law immediately if anything happens, and she never misses a present for her. On her birthday, during Christmas, Mother's Day, or any other day, and gets a better one than the one she gets for me. In fact, she just gives me sweets on my birthday that you can buy at the convenience store. There's a clear difference. After 10 years of pretending not to notice, I went to her in a roundabout way, but she said, "Do you think a child who can't take care of her mother can take care of her husband?" And another 5 years passed without me being able to complain. As you can imagine, the magic of destiny is fading away. Christy, who likes to drive 30 minutes to her parents-in-law's house, sometimes picks up her mother-in-law by car, and they go on a drive together. Since Christy is only allowed to commute by train, she can only drive on her days off, so I don't deny it. But I wonder how she prioritizes her mother over her husband. I don't know if it has always been that way. My father-in-law doesn't show much sign of caring. Christy is basically kind and does the housework, and I have no complaints about that. But when my mother-in-law is involved, it's a different story. If her mother-in-law says something is black, even white becomes black. And if she is called by her mother-in-law, she cancels other errands. My mother-in-law comes first in everything. I think I'm doing just fine with my mother-in-law. Well, perhaps it would be more correct to say that I try not to get involved. She doesn't seem to be interested in me either. I don't bother trying to get along with her. I've been doing that up until now and haven't had any problems, but recently, my mother-in-law seems to be asking Christy for an allowance. I overheard Christy on the phone with my mother-in-law. I asked Christy about it. My dad is retired, so our income has gone down. So mom needs some money to go out with her friends. I thought she meant living expenses, but she meant money to go out with her friends. Then why don't you have your mom work part-time or something? Christy got angry with me. You're asking my mother to go to work at her age? I was so surprised at what had happened that I couldn't say anything back, but I didn't say anything wrong. My father-in-law is still working as a senior staff member after his retirement, so he must have some income, and I am sure he has a pension. What does she want an allowance for herself to have more fun when she is living a reasonably well-off life? I'm not the only one who thinks that they should work and earn their own money. I don't know if this is something he should bother to tell her daughter, but I don't know how my father-in-law feels about it. But he is not at their house very often, and even when he is there, he's always frowning and unapproachable, so we hardly ever talk to each other. I told Christy that if she wants to give money to my mother-in-law, she should do it out of her own allowance. I would have no problem with that. Christy replied bluntly, "All right." However, she realizes that she is actually giving her money from our budget, and so Christy and I would argue. She told me that if I didn't like it that much, she would divorce me, but I managed to work it out at that time and got the money back into the budget. But then I got the divorce papers and made Christy fill them out too, saying that if she ever did anything like that again, I would divorce her. I wasn't planning to actually use it, but when we had a fight, I would look at it and it would calm me down because it made me feel like I could always get a divorce. A few months later, the incident happened. Mom said she's going on a trip, so I'll walk her to the station. With that said, Christy headed for my in-laws' house early in the morning. It was a 15-minute walk from my in-laws' house to the nearest train station. It might be difficult if she had luggage for the trip, but I wondered if it was worth Christy's time to take her to and from the station, which took 30 minutes each way. There are buses available, or she could have taken a cab, I thought, but it was not my problem to mention, so I let it go. I heard that my mother-in-law was going to stay in a luxury hotel with her friends. I don't know if she got the money for the trip from my father-in-law or from Christy, but I was very jealous. Christy dropped my mother-in-law off and came back. How nice. I wish I could go on a trip too. When I said that, "Well, maybe next time we'll go too. How about we take a trip to a hot spring?" she said to me. I was happy, but then he followed up with these words: "If we go to the hot springs, my mother will be happy." I was absolutely stunned. Why should my mother-in-law come with us if we want to go on a trip together? Come to think of it, my mother-in-law once came along on a trip we had planned for our wedding anniversary. To be exact, Christy invited her without my permission and gave her a room even though she knew it was our wedding anniversary trip. She would never hesitate when she's invited. It was strange for Christy to invite her without permission, but I don't understand my mother-in-law's thinking either. That day, as I was getting ready to go shopping, I noticed something that made me turn pale. I couldn't find my credit card. It was a card that I usually don't use, and I had set it aside for when I go to the shopping mall where I was going to today. I always keep it in the cupboard in the living room. I usually carry another credit card with me, but today I was going to take that with me because it would give me points. No matter how much I looked in the cupboard, I couldn't find the credit. I hurriedly turned over my wallet and bag, but I still couldn't find it. "Hey, where are you?" As Christy got tired of waiting and showed up. "My credit card disappeared, the one I always leave here. You wouldn't happen to know, would you?" I asked her just in case, and she said that most ridiculous thing. "Credit card? Oh, that red one? Then don't worry." "What?" "I gave that card to my mother when she went on vacation." I was taken aback by these unexpected words. "What? You gave my credit card to your mother?" Christy wrinkled her brow for a moment. "We're family, so there's no problem, right?" She said it in a strong tone of voice. "What do you mean? It was my own card, but if she gave my mother-in-law a card in my name without my permission, she can't use it. How can I have no complaints about giving my credit card to someone? It's just not right. Why would you do such a selfish thing?" When I questioned Christy, she said without remorse that she thought it was better than giving my mother-in-law cash because it was more convenient. Why my card? I asked her, and she said it was because she uses her own card all the time, and the card in the cupboard was not usually used. We argued and I lost my patience with Christy's words. I lent it to my mom so she could enjoy it, okay? My mom is family, you know. Unlike you, my mom is the one who gave birth to me, and she is more important to me than you. Why do you have to complain about her like that? It seems that you've been complaining about my mother for a long time, and I will not allow you to make fun of my precious family, no matter who you think you are, Tim. I see, so my mother-in-law's family, but I'm not. It seems that Christy still hadn't been able to separate from her parents. I was disappointed all at once and suddenly felt sick that she was still attached to them. You need to learn more from my mom and cook more, right? I'm always helping her with the cleaning and laundry. I reflexively retorted. That's because your mother is a housewife and she's home all the time, so she can spend more time on household. I work the same hours as you. If you want me to come home every day and carefully prepare your meals, then you should go out and earn money for me too. Don't tell me that you are doing housework when all you do is vacuum without moving the bags. Put the dirty laundry in the basket and take the garbage bags to the collection point. As I said that, she replied, If you don't like it, get out, and turned her back to me. But I definitely didn't want to do as she said. I don't like it, but I'm not leaving. You're the one who should leave. Christy glared at me and left. She took her car keys with her, so I guess she was going for a drive or to my in-laws' house. How did this happen? But even though I was more than perplexed, I was thinking to myself, be prepared. I would call the credit card company and then go out. After making sure Christy was not there, I headed to the police station. After that, I went to the government office to file the divorce papers I had written before. I wonder what was the fate of the person I was meant to be with. A feeling of futility came over me instantly. But it was better than staying with this person. I went back to my parents' house on the same day. My parents were surprised, but said I could stay for a while. The next day, while I was relaxing at my parents' house, I received an unusual phone call from my mother-in-law, so I answered it anyway. Tim, your credit card's not working. My mother-in-law, who was very upset, started talking in a superior tone. Please do something quickly. Christy told me that everything would be fine, but I can't pay the hotel. I sigh. Even if you say so, Mother, that card is in my name, isn't it? It's not right to try to pay with someone else's credit card. I could sense that my mother-in-law was panicking on the phone. I continued. Besides, I'm divorced from Christy, so I'm not her husband anymore. What? My mother-in-law was surprised, but I said nothing more and hung up the phone. After a while, Christy called me again. Hey Tim, I just got a call from my mother. What's the meaning of all this? I told her not to use people's credit cards. Not that, about the divorce? I thought she was complaining about my card, but it seemed more important than I said I was divorced. I explained it to her properly. You promised me then, if we thought we couldn't fix it, we would file for divorce. I didn't think I would have to use it so soon either. I told her I would pick up my stuff next week and hung up. I have not read any emails from Christy since then. She said she and my father-in-law are going to pick up my mother-in-law from now on. After a while, I get a text saying that they have arrived at the hotel, but there was some drama. I laughed when I read it. Apparently, my mother-in-law was traveling with her cheating boyfriend. They couldn't pay the bill, so they were supposed to pick her up, but my furious father-in-law drove home alone and left Christy and my mother-in-law behind. It seems that Christy knew about her mother-in-law's affair, and her father-in-law saw her as a traitor. I don't know much about the identity of the cheating partner, but he was someone my mother-in-law had met at a class she attended as a hobby. My guess is that the cheating partner was just stringing her along. That's why he made my mother-in-law pay for the trip. Because if she didn't, the cheating partner would have at least paid for the trip and returned home. Since he didn't do that, it is natural to assume that he wasn't able to do so. And it makes sense that my mother-in-law was routinely asking for an allowance. I quite enjoyed Christy's email reporting the drama, but I got bored when she texted me that she got on a train in the opposite direction and couldn't leave yet, so I just sent her a "I'm glad that you had a long trip with your favorite mom," and turned off my phone. The next week, I called the storage company and went home to pick up my stuff, and Christy was waiting for me. "Tim, please don't tell me you're divorcing me." Beyond her, there was my mother-in-law. "Did your father kick you out?" I asked Christy, and she nodded with a bitter look on her face. I laughed. "Well, I guess you and your mother will be living together from now on." "That's great," I said, and quickly had my stuff moved out. "I'm not family, am I? Then why don't you go live with your precious family?" "Don't worry, I'm not your family and I am leaving," I said with a smile, but Christy looked desperate. "You said that your mother is more important than me, that I don't do enough housework, and that you need a husband like that. If your mother does the housework, why not?" "Well, since you will be the only breadwinner, your standard of living will probably be lower than before, but you should hang in there." "Oh, hey, maybe your mother is still cheating with her boyfriend. Then you will have to earn money for that too." "Christy, you're going to have a tough time." I guess I was right to some extent because my mother-in-law looked away from me when I said that. "Oh yeah, can you give back my credit card as soon as possible?" My mother-in-law was looking through her purse in a panic, but she didn't give it to me. "I'm sorry, I must have lost it. I was in a hurry." I couldn't help but glare at her. "Huh? So you're allowed to lose someone's stuff if you're in a rush? I can't believe it." "Well, I've already stopped the card anyway so I can use it. Don't think I forgive you just because I said that. I make sure you pay back when you paid for my credit card. And I will sue you for fraudulent use of my credit card too." Both Christy and my mother-in-law's faces turned pale, but I had done my business, so I left the house. After that, Christy pleaded with me not to sue her, so I accepted the settlement and received the settlement money. My mother-in-law was divorced from my father-in-law, and she was charged alimony, so she can no longer live on Christy's salary alone. Incidentally, she said that the person with whom she had an affair had left her. Christy messaged me many times. "I need you, Tim. I thought we were meant to be." She told me that, but I replied, "I guess not. From now on, we should live on our own without relying on fate too much." I told her coldly, and she never called me again. I received a text message saying that living alone with my mother-in-law was not going to work out, but I thought they should get along with each other. I have a fresh start. My transfer request to the company was approved, and I am working hard at my new place. I'm going to give it my best today.